Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is stakeholders in public education in Nashville. And we have members of the Greater Nashville Alliance of Black Educators to talk about stakeholders in public education in Nashville. And of course, Mr. Blair, let me welcome you, Ms. Clementine, and Mr. Crenshaw to the show this morning, and to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the issues dealing with stakeholders in public education in Nashville. But before we get into that, let's have the three of you give me some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences. You'll start us off, and then after you've completed that, Ms. Crenshaw will give us similar information in reference to her background, education, and experience. And by that time, Mr. Crenshaw will probably have 2 minutes to complete his information, and then we'll be able to go and end that segment and go into our second segment, which will give you 8 minutes, and then we'll talk about stakeholders.
Okay. Well, Dr. Haney, thank you for having us. I'm Robert Blair. I'm a board member in Franklin, Tennessee, actually a board member of the Franklin Special School District, have been for 10 years. I've been affiliated and a member of the Greater Nashville Alliance of Black School Educators, GNAPSE, for going on 7 years. I currently serve as the president-elect. So I grew up in Franklin. My education background is from Franklin High School, attended Tennessee State University, and then my professional background took me into schooling in other areas of television and video production and marketing.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
I am a retired Metro School principal. I've grown up in Nashville, Tennessee. I've spent 39 years with the Metropolitan Nashville Public School System. I've taught every grade in elementary from kindergarten to 6th grade, and I retired as an elementary school principal.
And what school was that you retired from?
Last school I was at was Inglewood Elementary.
Very good. And Mr. Crenshaw, what about you?
I attended public high school in Gallatin, Tennessee at Union High School. I later attended Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee, and I received my master's degree from Tennessee State University. I started in 1983 in Metro Public School at Meigs Middle School, and from there to East Middle School, and to currently position at Nashville School of Performing Arts here in Nashville.
And so we've got a lot of black educators here today, that a lot of experience, a lot of time that has been spent in the public education system in a real sense in Nashville, Tennessee. Mr. Blair, is that right?
That's correct, Dr. Haney, and I think we diversified in the education. As Ms. Chamberlain said, she's a principal. Mr. Crenshaw is a teacher in the classroom, and I'm a board member, so you actually have 3 different varieties of people who are affiliated with education. So we think that gives us a great purpose and gives us a great view of how we look at education.
What would you say, in a real sense, we've got about 2 minutes, and this will give you an opportunity since you came to us in reference to this. Who would you say are the stakeholders, since this show is called Stakeholders in Public Education in Nashville? Who are some of the stakeholders during this last part of this segment, and then we'll get into some other things later on. Who are some of the stakeholders in public education?
Well, Dr. Haney, when we look at stakeholders, we recently did an educational forum, which we do every year as GNAPSE, and we entitled it Stakeholders in Education for the very reason that we believe the stakeholders are parents, we believe they're teachers, we believe they are the community, they are businesses. We believe that that parents have a very important role to play, and administrators. So these are the people that we believe are stakeholders in education. Everybody has a role as a stakeholder, and that's why we came up with that title of Stakeholders in Education, because if you're not a stakeholder, you need to be.
And Ms. Chamberlain, you would say after all those years that you've spent in education, who are some of the most important individuals that
Our students who we serve are the greatest resource, and they have the potential to do so much and to improve their quality of life. And our goal as educators is to have them with the best life possible as a result of their education, their experiences that will take them to the world. They can just do anything, and getting them motivated. Parents have a very important role as their trying to negotiate and making sure that their child gets the best education possible.
Very good. And Mr. Crenshaw, we've got about 27 seconds here, but make some statements, and then we'll come back during the second segment, and we'll start with you, and then we'll work our way back
Well,
down.
I agree that parents and the students are the most important part of what we do. And I'd like to say that the community as a whole is the stakeholders, because we're all in this together.
All in, very good. And of course, we're going to take this first break, and then we're going to come back, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. Blair, Mr. Crenshaw, and Ms. Chamberlain, and they're talking about what we consider to be stakeholders in public education in Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, Mr. Blair and Ms. Chamberlain have already given us some excellent information, and Mr. Crenshaw has promised that he will follow that up by speaking to us in terms of some of the things that are significant. Mr. Crenshaw, as a matter of fact, is the president of the Greater Nashville Alliance of Black Educators. And so start us off, Mr. Crenshaw.
Well, thank you, Mr. Haney. As president of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, one of our main goals is to raise funds for scholarships. And we do a scholarship gala at Fisk University. We also give 3 $1,000 scholarships. We do a back-to-school supply drive. We also partnered this year with Belinda Burks and State Farm Insurance for a back-to-school for teachers, where they fill out an application and they select 100 teachers, and they give supplies to needed teachers. We also do a back-to-school drive for our teachers and students for needed schools and children also, which is widely received. We also do an educational forum, and I'll let Mr. Blair tell you more about that educational forum that was held at Jackson Street Community Church of Christ. We also do a toy drive. We do a toy drive where we partner with the Salvation Army and for needed children. So our goal is to be an advocate for our children in the community. So that's some of the things that we do as the Greater Nashville Alliance of Black School Educators. And we want to stand for advocates for all children, and especially those of African American descent.
Ms. Chamberlain, when you think in terms of having been involved in education, elementary education, as long as you have, what are some of the things that you might say that teachers ought to do in terms of encouraging students to become all that they can be?
I think the greatest thing that teachers need to have to begin with is having the high expectations that children can learn and want to learn, and to spend a lot of time in making sure that they feel comfortable and challenging those students to do their very, very best. Teachers have an awesome job with the curriculum, with all of the things they have to do, with all of the administrative parts of attendance and all of that kind of thing, but their primary job is to teach our children and to come to school prepared to teach them and to be able to address their individual differences and yet to group them so that they can achieve and accelerate in their learning. Our teachers do a wonderful job, and many times we don't give them all the credit for the hard work that they do. It's a hard job. It doesn't end 8 o'clock at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It goes on to 6 and 7 o'clock at night. Teachers come to school on weekends, and they ask for keys so they can come to school and work in their rooms. Planning, even those who go home earlier still take care of school after they get home. So it's a full-time job. It's a tough job, but it's a very rewarding job. And when you see children getting it, I got it. I know how to do that. I know what you're talking about. That's your reward. That's your catching them learning and getting them to recognize that they can and they can be all that they want to be. Planting those seeds so that they will strive for more and want to do more. Getting them to want to read. I think one of the most important things teachers can do is to encourage children to want to read. They make assignments, but setting the stage where they can introduce a new book, and they're running to the library and say, do you have that book? Do you have that book? Is another book by that author? Because they like reading. And once you get them to reading, you are opening their minds to the future, to what can be. So I think our teachers are very, very important, motivating our students and encouraging them to be their best.
Mr. Blair, in terms of your organization, what kind of support do you find that you have in the community?
Well, as Ms. Chamberlain just spoke about, GNAPS's goal is to kind of partner with all those different stakeholders. Education is changing. In order for it to be successful, then we have to engage all the stakeholders. It does start with the teachers, the parents, the students. They have to be engaged, but we have to look beyond that. We have to have the support of the community. We want the support of businesses, as Mr. Crenshaw referenced. That's why we team with a lot of businesses and a lot of organizations so that we can be successful. You have to look at where kids going, where are jobs at. We want to work with organizations so that our kids are trained and prepared for this new education that's coming to us, and they'll be prepared to get those jobs in technical fields and in the different areas that education is taking us into. So GNAPSI engages all stakeholders so that we're preparing our kids, and we have a relationship with those stakeholders so that we can be successful to the kids that we're working with and trying to teach.
Do you get any, Ms. Crenshaw, any support from the Metropolitan Board of Education, or is this just a public kind of organization that does not depend upon public funds? Is that what we're saying?
No, so we don't depend upon public funds. We are an affiliate of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, and as an affiliate, we are a 501c nonprofit organization, and we solicit donations. One of our major fundraisers is the gala, which will be held at Fisk University. We do a golf tournament at Country Hills Golf Course. And so those are our major two fundraisers to raise money. So we don't get any support from Metro Public Schools or anything like that. But we do get a lot of support from other businesses, like I said, State Farms, Cracker Barrel. It's so many of them that stakeholders that have an interest in public education, and so they come to us. So it is an opportunity for them to be partakers in this endeavor to better our children.
In other words, they understand that what you're doing is important to them, and that's why you can have all of these drives and give all these giveaways and et cetera, primarily because they serve as a resource in terms of helping you accumulate the resources that you need in order to give it out to the children.
That's correct, Dr. Haney, and I like to say that one of our goals is to partner with more businesses, and so that we'll be able to provide more opportunity for our children.
Very good. And we're going to take this second commercial break, and then we'll come back, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Okay, so we got 10 minutes. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. Blair, Ms. Chamberlain, and Mr. Crenshaw, talking about stakeholders in public education in Nashville. And of course, I think, Mr. Crenshaw, let's start off with you, and we've got about 10 minutes for this segment. Let's start off with you by talking about some of the financial resources that are available to you and that are coming to you, and some of the things that you're doing with the resources that you are receiving.
Well, Dr. Haney, with the resources we receive, those go directly into our scholarship fund. This goes directly to a scholarship for African American children and for children of needy. We've solicited a number of companies and corporations that made donations to us, and so therefore we feel like that to help children, and specifically for those children that are going into education, in the field of education, to replace teachers. You know that teaching is a rewarding field, but we don't have that many people going. So what we try to do is give scholarships to those kids that are interested in education to help facilitate their opportunities to come into education. And once again, like I said, it's a great opportunity to work with the business and stakeholders and let them see what we're trying to do in terms of our society and our community, because we're all involved in this together. And it's an opportunity also for me to get out and meet people in the business to see what is actually going on and to assure them that we're doing the best we can to further our children in education.
Very good. I think, Mr. Chamberlain, you mentioned something about legislative opportunities and activities that the organization has been coming. Let's talk about that.
Okay, we had an educational forum back in the fall, and we realized at that educational forum that we need to be more involved legislative. The legislators are making laws that affect schools and affect education. So as a result of that, we've added a committee, a legislative committee, of which I serve as chair, so that we can look at the laws that are affecting education, the quality of education, the kinds of services that children receive, and what they need. And as a result of that, we are going to be more active. We've asked our membership to check in with the legislators, let them know that they're interested in finding out about the educational issues that are on the books for this next term. We plan to meet with many of them to talk about that. One of the state representatives was with us at the educational forum, who suggested and kind of opened our eyes to what's going on legislative. When you're practicing and when you're working so hard in education, you don't sit down to say, I'm going to write my legislator to talk about this issue. You're so deep and you're so involved in it that you don't do that. And so as an organization, we want to be an advocate for teachers, parents, and students, and so that legislators know what educators, what people who are involved in education think is best. What are best practices? What should we be doing for our students? What kinds of things should we be involved with? What do we need to do to make sure that public education is going to be accessible for all children, and they're going to be able to have their needs met, be it accelerated programs, be it remedial program, be it special ed. We want college bound. We want to make sure our students are prepared, and so we're going to be more involved legislatively. frequently and asking our members to check in. And we're not saying, don't you just check in as a retired teacher or retired educator. Check in as a family. That way, your household is, we're going to talk to legislators, our household is concerned about the educational issues that we want you to make sure that you think about this. What impact does this have on the children? Teacher evaluation tied to student achievement. They've got a bill on they're looking at what percentage should that be part of their evaluation in order to continue to be teachers. It's tough these days to be a teacher, and everybody has been to school. And so because they have been to school, they know school and they know what's best for school. We don't want to let that slip by and let other folks tell us. We want to be in a position of driving the car and telling them this is the way we need to be going because this is the best practices. This is what's going on across the country. So we're going to be more active legislatively as a group, individuals, as our families, as our parents. We want to educate them on what things are really best, helping them to figure out what's best, and to encourage the legislators to do the right thing, because it is the right thing for all of the children, not just part of them.
And now, Mr. Blair, when you think in terms of your membership, have you thought in what percentage of individuals that you've identified as ought to be members of this organization? What percentage of those individuals are actually involved in what you're doing?
Dr. Haney, our membership, we actually try to reach beyond Nashville. As I say, I'm from Franklin, so we try to look into the Middle Tennessee counties, and we're trying to expand our membership and reach out to more people. Our members pay dues. We encourage our members to be very active. We have several committees, as Ms. Chamberlain referred to. She's, of the legislative committee. So that's one of the goals is to always increase your membership, and that's where some of our funds come from through our dues. But we're aligned with several different committees, and we're not an organization that just kind of sits back. We are very active, and we each have a different role to play, and we assign those roles by what our strengths are, and we try to approach it from that area. So someone is very active in legislative, then we put them on that. We've got people who do media and PR. We've got people who do a number of different things. So we're trying to attract, whether it's retired teachers, whether it's students, board members. We go to different conferences to learn about how education is going. We also try to be a grassroots organization as well. We want to understand what's actually going on in the classrooms and what's going on in our schools, and so that way we can know exactly what's happening and not just hear about it.
And so in a real sense, Mr. Crenshaw, whatever your situation might be, there's a place in this organization for you, and you would encourage folks to come out and to join you and helping to push forward an education agenda for Greater Nashville, I think as you call it.
Yes, as Mr. Blair stated, he's from Franklin, and I'm from Sumner County. But one of the things we would like to encourage you to do is whether you're in business, you're a parent, it doesn't matter, because we're looking for ideas, and as stakeholders, we're all involved in this. And so what we would like to do is regardless of what your background is, there's an old saying that many hands make for light work. And so what we're looking for is to partner with those that want to better education and come up with those ideas and strategies. Once again, as Ms. Chamberlain stated, in terms of getting involved, there is a House Bill 0190 is one of those about school vouchers and school choice. And we wanted to educate the people about those bills and how it will affect public education by taking public money and sending it to private school. So those are some issues that we like to talk about. We also are in the business of helping parents fill out financial aid form FICAs and those things here, because it is somewhat scary to some parents. And we put on this educational form, as Mr. Blair was in charge of the educational form, and an opportunity to bring parents in and see what's going on, to ask questions. And I must say that we did have we had school board members, we also had legislators also. So it's something we want to hold community involved, and just not teachers, but all of us.
Very good, Ms. Chamberlain. 30 seconds.
The Greater Nashville Alliance of Black School Educators is a treasure, and it's something that's available to the community. We want to invite the community to be involved with us. Go to our website, Greater Nashville Alliance Black School Educators.org, and look us up. You can find out all of the things that are going on with the organization. We welcome parents, students, and other educators, as well as the community, to be involved with our organization, to put forth encouragement and best practices for education.
Very good. And of course, let me thank